Friday night in Metro Cola, where they are purveyors of your finest Erdinger, and it's a pleasure to be in conjunction with all of the above and in conjunction with Kev Walsh and Pete Bolster. To start off with, Pete, the theoretical idea of what this is going to be tomorrow, his first press conference. I'll be honest, I thought he might have a little bit more sorted out, or they might have helped him have a little bit more sorted out. You'd have thought he's going to get asked about the contracts for the obvious three players to start with, on top of everything else. What are you expecting from him, or what are you expecting from the press conference as a whole?
Well, I'm excited for it. I think his interview the other week was a bit bland, wasn't it? I think it was a purpose interview from the club, like.
Soft intro.
Yeah, soft intro. Made sure that there was no headlines. What Jürgen used to always say, wasn't it, is make sure that you don't say anything to create headlines, and it just seemed like that all the way through. So I'm looking forward to the fact that the press can actually ask him questions, and it can go one way or another. So I'm looking forward to him to speak about the contracts. Yeah. I'm looking forward to being a bit bold. I want him to seem a bit bold. I've heard a few Liverpool fans now saying he's not as humble as the great Jürgen Klopp. I'm not bothered, because I think that he's got to follow Jürgen Klopp, so I hope he's self-assured. I hope he's really looking forward to managing Liverpool, and I hope that he's the guy, isn't it? So I want to see a bit of that.
The bold thing I think is interesting, because I think there is a line around it, but what I liked in the softer interview was that bit of, well, we're building on it. Not that idea of, well, Jürgen did a great job, and I just hope that we're building on it. I'm learning from stuff from last year. We're building on it, and there's a fine line there where you don't want to hang out too many hostages to fortune, Kev, in the long run. Don't want things getting parroted back to him in September if it doesn't start so well. But I want him to be, like Pete, I want him to be bold. I don't want him turning up and being a bit of a shrinking violet. It won't work if that's the case.
I don't think he's going to be a shrinking violet, but I think I'm still scarred by the Brendan Rodgers introduction, and I don't think it's the case, but Brendan Rodgers come in and I don't think he believed that he was big enough for the job. I think he wanted it, but I don't think deep down he had 100% belief. Hopefully Arne Slot has, and I think he has. But I think I'm very much going to be looking at it and thinking, are there any shades of Brendan in this? And I want to see minimal shades of Brendan. I think everyone can agree on that. As you said, he's got to just come in and sort of own it as his own. He can't be a Jürgen Klopp tribute, because nobody can be. It'd be destined to failure, wouldn't he? And I think as long as he comes in and he's just, he's not. I don't think he's going to be spiky, is he? You'd think he'd be all right on the first one.
I don't think they're going to be. I don't think the press are going to be spiky with him either, because there's not a lot of spike at this point in time.
There's nothing spiky about.
No, at this point there's absolutely. You can't even say, for instance, he will only have had a couple of days with a minority of his first team squad at this stage. So even that, there's not going to be a ton of that sort of spikiness. But I think there is that idea, isn't there, that there's got to be a bit of grit somewhere in there. There's got to be something you can feel and get your teeth into.
And so that's what will be interesting, I think, because as you just said, everyone will be asking about signings, because it's a constant thing, and we're all interested in it, and the contract. So hopefully tomorrow you might get like your first inkling of the way that's actually going. Do you know what I mean? You're not going to get a, oh yeah, he's signing or he's not, but you might get a, okay, well, we're confident on this.
Things are progressing.
Yeah, progressing. So it might be with sense or whatever, and then it might be what he doesn't say about the others that says a little bit more. But you probably find, I think, that he will give him, as you said, at least one thing that he can not give away, but definitely allude to, and to make everyone go, oh, well, that's a good bit of news, isn't it? So everyone's first interaction with him publicly is, oh, I like what he said there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the word grit that you said. I want him to really introduce himself, and I want him to be authoritative, because for me, I know what the interview, like I've already referenced before a few weeks ago, what it was all about, and it was perfect. There was a good little soft introduction, but for me, I was a bit disappointed. I was waiting for a bit more from him. He alluded to the fact that we did finish third. He alluded to the fact that it is a continuation on build on that success, but he didn't go as far as saying, oh, we're going to challenge for the title or we're going to win the league. Okay, I don't really want him to say we're going to win the league in the sense of to pile a lot of pressure and get whipped in September for it and get battered for it. But if he believes we're going to challenge for the title, I want him to say it. I want him to say it tomorrow. I want Liverpool fans, including myself, to leave that press conference thinking I'm excited for the new season even more than I am today. So I want him to tell us what type of football he's going to be playing rather than us guessing. To a certain extent, I want him to stamp his DNA on us, never mind the team pre-season. I just want a little bit more of an idea. I want to see if we're going to sign a midfielder. Is he interested to sign a midfielder? Is he going to sign a centre-half? Is he going to...
And he's like, that gives a chance. People, they let the press conference
these are the questions that are going to come along, aren't they? I mean, we're going to talk about Anthony Gordon later. What's going to go with the strikers? I mean, they're not all going to fit in. So, it's for me. I just want him. I just think if you're a leader and if you're the real deal, then you will say things without fear.
I can definitely see that and why you'd want it. What I'd say is there's a cultural thing sometimes in the attitude of Dutch managers where they don't necessarily interview that great. They're a bit more Kenny Dalglish to the press than they are Jurgen Klopp, warm and bubbly. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They very much.
It's all right to be Kenny Dalglish as well, let's be clear.
Like, that was perfect, wasn't it? Johan Cruyff, I don't think anyone would be complaining if he's like him, but they tend to be a little bit more defensive, a little bit more standoffish and almost an air of arrogance around him. And listen, I don't think that's a problem at all, by the way. If you're a Liverpool manager, you should have a real air of arrogance around you if you've got that genuine belief in you. So I think people might want one thing, but you might get something else where you have to sort of balance what your expectations
I think
what
with FSG though, as soon as they moved from Dalglish, I think the part of that was the PR part of it. And I think Brendan Rodgers, as much as people slag him, he could talk the talk, couldn't he? Maybe not walk the walk all the time, but he could bloody talk. And I think they loved that. I think they loved him in press conferences. And I think that was the way forward. You had to be able to speak to the media. So once they got rid of Rodgers, they got Jurgen Klopp. Arne Slot, I don't expect anything else. I think he will be able to speak to the media. I think he will be able to bring people in. I think the media will like him. I think we'll get some good press conferences from him. I think just in the first instance, I want to see his personality. I know what's happened, and we know what's happened all before Jurgen Klopp, but there was a lot of Jurgen Klopp references. I'd like not to see anything with Jurgen Klopp tomorrow. I don't even want to hear his name mentioned. I just think he should just pass. If it was me, I'd be like, don't be talking about him. I'm here. I'm your man.
It's a bold move, that though, isn't it? Because, as you say, it's going to be press questions to him, and it's inevitable. He's going to get pounded with questions about Jurgen Klopp in the initial period,
you can address it in the sense of that's the past now. We spoke about him and in a respectful way, but that's the past, and this is now Arne Slot's time.
The mild issue or concern I've got for him in a way is I think that a lot of this will be difficult until he's managed. I even just only mean pre-season friendlies, a couple of football matches. It's nice to have reference points to fall back on, so we can talk a little bit. Because my worry is, for instance, what you don't want him doing a lot of is saying, "Well, in my time in Feyenoord, I don't really want him doing that either." Yeah, so to say I don't want to talk about Jurgen Klopp, I just don't want to do too much of. Well, at my time in Feyenoord, because we know it is different. It's different in terms of the league. You know, there's similarities between Liverpool and Rotterdam. There's places. There's similarities in a number of ways. It's still playing football, Kev. But I don't want a lot of, well, in my time at Feyenoord. So it is a little bit difficult, because I'm sure he'll be delighted to do the first one of these after there's been at least even a knock-around game of football where he's able to go, well, I liked what the right winger did, or I like this, or I like that.
That's the problem, isn't it? At the moment, he's got nothing to really reference back to, because what's he going to say? Oh, yeah, they were great in the running today. Like, it doesn't really hit, does it? So he hasn't got a great deal to do. So he's got to walk that fine line between, as you say, referring to a past which people are interested in but don't want to hang the hats on, and making bold claims which can then come back to bite him a little bit further on down the line. So it's a balancing act for him, and listen, in that first interview, he seemed like a cool fella, didn't he? Like, didn't seem like he's going to get flustered at all. So I've got no doubt he'll be able to handle it, and let's be honest, at the end of the interview tomorrow, you'd have to be a cold man not to be just thinking, oh my God, he's going to win everything for us.
but also think it's the start of something else. I think for me the big part of it is to come back in for training this week. We've effectively had, it was Jurgen's until the end of May. It is at the start of July. Everyone got a bit of a pause in June, but I want it to feel like the start of a new era, Kev. That's the next thing I want. I want to come away from it and going, all right, there's a new thing that's beginning. I think that's what's important, and I think that's the thing. I think that's what Peter was saying as well. That's what I want to keep coming back to. There's something new happening here now, and that's where we are.
Yeah, I think that's definitely where he will go, because where else would he go with it? And I think, listen, I'm the same as you. I want him to come out and I want him to be bold, but I want to believe that boldness from him. That's what I was getting at. I don't want him to be a shrinking violet by any stretch of the imagination, but I don't want him making bold claims that he doesn't believe, because I think you can tell that, can't you? Not even wild claims. I want him to talk with an air of authority on himself that makes you go, believe in this fella, you know, he'll do for me.
Okay, it is Friday night. We are in Metro Cola. We are drinking the Erdinger, having a wonderful time doing so as well. Coming out on the Anfield Wrap as the end of one era, which is Jurgen Klopp. It's our final flourish with an audio documentary about Klopp's time pulled together by Jimmy Aribi in the office. It'll be out for free. We're doing this on Thursday, by the way, so you've not got your data confused. It's just there's football happening tomorrow night, so we don't be doing it this way around. This place will be rammed tomorrow night for the Euros, so we've got it in tonight. So it is Thursday, and coming out will be something fabulous from Jimmy. He's worked so hard on it. It's really, really good. That is about Klopp. It is pretty much our last Klopp thing, at least in the near future. We wanted to get that done, get that out before the new thing starts. It starts tomorrow, back in a second.
And Erdinger, please.
Stop! Don't forget the best bit.
It is Friday night on Thursday. Pete and Kev still with me. We'll get into Anthony Gordon in a minute. We'll get Kev worked up, get him revved up. All the big news from the week that's really useful from Liverpool's point of view is Endo's not going to the Olympics, but Pete, I'd argue more importantly, really, with what's happening with the new manager and in general, is Salah not going to the Olympics as well for Egypt. Just a big win. You know, Salah's with him pre-season, day one. Seems like there is an expectation Salah will at least be doing this season with Liverpool. We need the best possible Mo Salah. Him being under our wing all the way through and under Slot's wing all the way through can only be good news.
Yeah, I mean, we always think about Mohamed Salah as the footballer, but he's just a massive character as well. He's a leader of this, what's been a brilliant team over the last few years. So to have him in and around the squad, when the squad's already depleted because it's obviously the European Championships, and that's always a pain, isn't it, when a new manager comes in, a new pre-season, and you're missing key players. So he's there, he's going to be ready. And it just, like I said, his influence on the rest of the squad and the manager. What's going to happen with Mo Salah? Is he going to be playing on the same position on the right? Is he going to change position and become more centrally? If that's going to happen, whatever's going to happen with the new manager, he's going to need time to bed in, isn't he, over the next few weeks? And we haven't got long, have we? Because it's only, 4 to 5 weeks to the new season starts, so maybe 5, 6 actually. So
Did he have conversations? It was interesting. There was an athletic piece where he talked about how they work together as a team. He works with them as a team. Then they work in positional sections, but he also likes to have one-to-one time. You know, if nothing else, the good thing for all these players who played first-team football last season, who were coming back early before you even get to the young lads, is they'll get the chance to have a bit of one-on-one time with them as well to talk about what they want, the way they see it. Because I think he's got to do his learning from them. So, as you say, Salah is quite a senior player. Arguably, depending on what Robertson's up to, of that leadership group, he is the first one back because Alisson's away, Van Dijk's away, Trent's away.
When is Mo back now?
Meant to be back, he's the first one back. Of that 5-person leadership group, Mo will be the first one back. So you'd think he's going to be able to sit down with the manager and they're going to have a conversation.
Yeah, and just on a personal level, he's got to build that rapport as well, isn't he? So, I mean, they obviously don't know each other. To just build that rapport, just to get going. And I think it's important that Arne Slot gets his vision across to Mohamed Salah, to make sure that he believes. We talk about us tomorrow. Are we going to believe after tomorrow's press conference? The most important thing is those players believe after they've met with the manager and trained with the manager for the first few weeks. So that's essential.
The mindset of Salah is unbelievable in terms of the character of him. And this is where there's a parallel to the interview you saw Anthony Gordon do on the overlap about the way in which he sees the game, sees his own improvement, what he wants to be and what he wants to become. I really feel as though one of the positives of having a character like Salah around now, we think about that attacking group. You know, I love Jota's mindset, don't get me wrong, but Salah's the last one who won the league.
Yeah.
Salah's the last one who was part of that journey. Jota's broke 90 points. Jota's been to a European Cup final, but not the same as everything that Salah's been through. And, you know, I think if Liverpool are planning for the future with or without Salah, the idea of 12 months of someone like Gordon getting someone like Salah rubbing off on him, I think there's a real opportunity here for Liverpool to, you know, we know how this works. These players get led, they get inspired, and I was really excited by the Gordon link because I think you can see a mindset in him.
Yeah, 100%. That overlap podcast he's done with Gary Neville was a real insight into the man, wasn't it? Like he's so much deeper than I thought he was going to be. I thought he was just going to be like your general typical footballer, and he just wasn't. And he speaks about Salah, doesn't he? And you quite often get players with like a little bromance, don't you, when they come in. So Lovren and Salah obviously had one. It wouldn't surprise if you got something similar if we did sign Anthony Gordon. with him and Salah, like a bit more of a dad and lad type of thing rather than like the brotherly thing. But Anthony Gordon would definitely come in and be trying to pick the brain of Mo Salah at every given opportunity, and whether that's actually literally talking to him or just watching him doing what does he do in this situation, what does he do first thing when he walks into here. And Anthony Gordon, his mindset, he just had like an elite mindset, to use a really rubbish phrase, which I'm embarrassed to have said. But he had the self-belief, but also the humble nature of someone who knows I can go wherever I want to go, but I also know I've really got to work for it. So if we sign him, listen, obviously there's the added bonus of the obvious fume from Everton, which would be phenomenal. But I think he's brilliant, but also I think the ceiling is massively high.
It was a big afternoon last Saturday when it felt like it was viable, genuinely, just for a few minutes. And what was really interesting was, I think a lot of people who would have just sort of shrugged their shoulders or said, oh, he goes down too easily, or even he's a former Evertonian, suddenly had to engage with the idea of it for a minute or two. And it struck me, there was a lot of sort of genuine positive energy of, no, I can see how this would work. You then begin to look at his numbers last season, you look at the fact that he scores against every side in the classic Big Six that Newcastle are in, he gets a goal against all of them. You know, this is, the extent to which, Christ, we talked a lot.
We talk a lot about it.
I think he's the real deal, and I've done for an extended period of time. And I think you've really been able to see that with him after the move to Newcastle. But also, he had a lot of intensity when he played for Everton in difficult situations. I think he's about as exciting a link as Liverpool can find over the course of this summer.
110%. And I think the fact that he is an ex-Evertonian and the fact that he is English, some people are taking that away from if this was a player from Spain or whatever, I think the excitement would be even greater. Obviously, because we are who we are, me and you, that side of it is amazing as well, isn't it? But the fact that he's just leaned into it so much, like even he's not even spoken publicly since last week about this, by the way, but the previous little sound bites that he's dropped and the little bits of nuggets of information
played in Anfield, Gerrard,
exactly, all that type of stuff shows an elite mindset that he's not worried about upsetting Evertonians, because he sees that as, I've been there and I've done that, my journey is up there, and he's not looking behind.
Well, he referenced, didn't he, about changing the narrative about Evertonians feel about someone. He was just like, well, I know who I am, so it doesn't really matter. So he referenced that. So I think you're right, Kev. I think what you're saying about as well, about using it against them being English and playing for Everton. Liverpool should sign every boss scouser. It's that simple. You can't sign certain players in the world because they want to go to Barcelona or they want to go to Real Madrid. This is a Liverpool fan from Liverpool, so we should be signing him. He's brilliant.
The mad thing is, we haven't till he was 15 apparently.
But I mean, there's an opportunity to get him now. We need to get him, and I think we talk about Mohamed Salah, the last one to win the league, and that front three. Well, the front three's not been quite the same since Mane's left it. We would all probably agree, and Mane's directness and Mane's covering left back to help out defensively, he's tailor-made for it. He's more direct, he's very quick, he's got that self-belief that we spoke about, he's very intelligent. The fact that how well he speaks and how he articulates himself just shows his elite mindset, as what you just said, Kev. But
I hate myself, Pete. Thanks for being
just this general intelligence, the fact that he would be like a sponge. I think he'd be all over Mohamed Salah because he's so respectful with that. I'm going to say arrogance, but it's probably the wrong word, but that lovely arrogance.
No, I think arrogance is the right word, but it's the correct type of arrogance, isn't it?
It is, absolutely. And I think his record is 11 goals and 10 assists last season.
Did you see
in a side that didn't play very well as well.
Did you see the list of players who've done that, like the double figures in assists and goals? I think he was the 7th. There's somewhere between 7 and 10 players have done it. And the list is elite footballers. You're talking like Sadio Mane, Mo Salah, Jamie Vardy's in there, and listen,
De Bruyne.
There's players who you would go at their peak. Every team in the country would have wanted them, and he's done it. And as you said, he's done it under Eddie Howe at Newcastle, and he's done it after a ropey start as well. By the way, when he first went to Newcastle, it wasn't all plain sailing for him by any stretch of the imagination. So he's done that after a ropey start, after being chased out from the club that he come through at. And now he sees that as his, well, this is my low bar now. Everything from here goes up. And if he can actually do that and make that his lowest bar, well, you've got some great seasons ahead of you watching him, and haven't you, if we can sign him for Liverpool?
Absolutely, Avi is the most exciting of the links so far. It was a concrete link for a period of time. I don't think it's going anywhere. There's a big period, a big 3 weeks between when England go out to the Euros, which will ideally be really rather soon. Ideally be really rather soon, and then when he has to return himself back to Newcastle's training, if indeed he ever does, we very much hope he doesn't. We hope he's going to find himself working with Arne Slot and going from there. It's been Pete, it's been Kev. Big day tomorrow. See you later on.